Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Hope we are all well. Hope we have had a fine Monday heading into Tuesday. We've got a few transfer rumours to talk about today, and I also want to talk about some of the other things happening at other clubs in the Premier League as well. If you've got any comments, put them in. We will get to reading them. But yeah, let's get started. And let's start with the main image from the thumbnail, and I have on there, it's not for me. Jay Stansfield has been linked with Sunderland. I will whack on his footmob page here. So, Jay Stansfield, right. This is not a signing that I think Sunderland would make. Now, it came from the Yorkshire Post, is where I read it. Because Hull are interested in Jay Stansfield, and that feels more like the level for him. But Birmingham paid an absolute fortune for him in League One. And I think it was 15 million, something like that. So this is going to be an expensive deal for any team to make. And I look at the profile of Jay Stansfield, and I just don't know where he would fit. People, I think, generally think he's a number 9, but actually, when I watch Birmingham, he's more like a number 10. And on FootMob, the position that he's played in most last season is the number 10. So you'd be signing him to play probably with Brian Bromley, but potentially in the Enzo Lefebvre position, which obviously makes very little sense. Now, what would be the reason to sign him? His goal record for a number 10 is pretty good, but, what did he get last season? He got 10 goals last season. It's not amazing. It's not outstanding numbers for a guy who is predominantly a forward player to get not necessarily the best numbers. And then if we look at his passing, yes, he does well on assists and stuff, which is good. Chances created is very, very good. Possession-wise, he's okay. Touches in the opposition box, as you would expect, is very good. His defensive contributions are all right, though, which is obviously, pretty important in the Sunderland team. But I just look at Jay Stansfield, and I just think there is no way that Sunderland are going to spend 30 million quid on this guy. I just don't think he's anywhere near being a regular Premier League starter for a team that's in the top 10. I could see him maybe going to one of the newly promoted teams, but even then, at the price, no, it's a scandalously high price if it's 30 million. I just don't think he's anywhere near that sort of level. So I saw this link. I presume it's just a tenuous link, just putting Sunderland in there, possibly agent driven. Jay Stansfield, maybe he does want to move away from Birmingham. They had a really disappointing season last season. I mean, they were hoping, I think, to try and push towards the Premier League. They ended up finishing pretty mid-table. So maybe he's just thinking, let's try and see if we can get a move up to the Premier League anyway and do it without Birmingham. But yeah, for me, I don't see this one happening. I mean, he's a player that we tracked quite a bit when we were in the Championship. We tried to sign him a couple of times. We tried to sign him when he first went on loan to Birmingham, and we also tried to sign him the summer that he signed for Birmingham permanently. So it has been a player that Sunderland have liked, but that would be Christian Speakman and Stuart Harvey. I doubt Florent Gasolfi will be looking at him and thinking that it'd be a winner for Sunderland. I just don't think that he's shown it. Like, if he'd scored 20 goals in the Championship, maybe, but he hasn't scored enough. Let's see what you guys are saying. Would rather sign Lisa Stansfield than Jay. Alex says 10 goals in the Champ, less non-penalty ones than Isidore Mayenda would be a downgrade. Stay away. And that's exactly it. If you look at Jay Stansfield, who would you rather have, him or Wilson Isidore, or him or Mayenda? And while there might be an argument that maybe he's a better player than both, I don't think he is, but maybe there's an argument. He's not a substantial upgrade on the two of them. So if you were to sell Isidore for 20 million and then spend 30 on Jay Stansfield, that wouldn't make any sense at all. Wendy McDonald, I think Jay Stansfield will be agent talk. Don't think we go for him and can see him going to Coventry, Hull, Ipswich or Fulham. Not here. I think Stanfield has his chance but chose Birmingham. He can stay there looking at his record. Connor Hutton, I'd like to see some opinions on Francelino Giu. We'll touch on him in today's episode, why not? I'll load up some stats for him. Morning Stu from Normandy. Hello, how are you doing? I am in dreary Gateshead. Gareth Ainsworth has gone to Reading. Oh, fair enough. We are going to talk about some of the other transfer news. Tonali, so we will talk about him. And Wendy says we'd have to pay around 20 to 25 for him since it costs 15. And you can't spend money like that on Championship players because, yeah, we need to improve on first team. We probably need to improve on the 21 team. And, yeah, I mean, they're saying it's going to be about 30 million quid for Jay Stansfield. A wizard is never late. I mean, I don't think I was late, unless you're saying I am a wizard. Kirky Boy, How are you doing, my friend? Good morning. Got a week and a half off work, so hope to catch a few of your daily live feeds. Keep up the great work. Thank you, my friend. We actually have some good stuff. So tomorrow, we're not going to do the usual 10:30. We're going to do an afternoon recording with James because we've got an exciting thing to talk about. So look out for that tomorrow. I don't know the exact time. It'll probably be 1:30. And then me and Taff recorded loads of videos yesterday, so they'll be drip feeding out throughout the next week. BSE Frost morning. Do you think we'll see business after the World Cup? I think that's where probably the majority of the business is going to be done. I mean, the group stages will be over in a couple of weeks. So by that point, a lot of the players will start returning home. Certainly after the last 32, I think they've got now. It's crazy the amount of games they play at the World Cup. But I still think we'll see stuff beforehand. I still think Sunderland will probably do stuff before July 1st. They want to get at least 1 or 2 new faces in for pre-season, and I'm guessing pre-season will probably fall roughly 10th of July, something like that, because the Premier League starts about a week later. So yeah, I think we'll see some before then. I would be shocked if we're sat here on the 1st of July still not having a signing through the door. Good evening to you, Aussie Mullet. Let's have a look. One last dance for Danny Graham if we can't tempt Jay Stansfield. yeah, give him a go. Why not? Why not give him a go? Thank you, Kingfisher. Yes, please like, please subscribe, etc. And link to Archie Brown again. We're going to talk about Archie Brown. He will be in here. Kevin, thank you for the super chat. That is greatly, greatly appreciated. Right. Let's move on to the next player we're going to talk about. And this is one that me and Taff have talked about on our latest video that's going to be out at some point today, depending on when Taff can put it up. So this is Kasum Ouattara, not related to Django Ouattara. That is at Brentford currently. And this guy looks interesting. So the reason why this link has came up is because a Monaco page, which had 20,000 followers, had put a post out saying that they'd agreed a deal with 2 top 10 Premier League clubs for Ouattara to sign for. And I think if you look at the Premier League, I think if you look at who was in the top 10 last season, I think you can probably take a decent guess that Sunderland are possibly one of those teams that would have made that offer. You wouldn't see him necessarily going to the top 6 teams. So I think you'd look at Sunderland, maybe you'd look at Brighton, maybe Brentford, but I think Sunderland definitely could be one of those 2 teams. And, as Lax has just put in here, very, very nicely, Adingra going the other way. So we have that bargaining chip, haven't we? Like, if they want to sign Simon Adingra, we want to sign Ouattara. Do you figure out a way to do that deal? When I looked at how Monaco played last season, they generally played a back 3, and this guy is normally wanting to play just as a traditional left back. So if they're playing back 3, they're either going to play Ouattara at left wing back or change the formation. So it feels like he is likely to possibly leave Monaco this summer. I like the look of him. I mean, I've watched a couple of videos of him being Taff sort of yesterday before we did our video. Watched a couple of things, and 21 years old, good age, got plenty of experience as well. And I just think he looks like he'd be a pretty good fit for the way that we play. So even his assist numbers and whatnot are not bad, considering he's a defensive left back. Like, they're not at the levels of Archie Brown, but his defensive numbers are so much better than his. So if you wanted kind of somewhere between a Ronaldo and an Archie Brown, so Ronaldo being a more defensive fullback, Archie Brown being the more attacking fullback, Ouattara's probably sitting somewhere in the middle there, which I think makes a lot of sense. And yeah, his defensive numbers aren't necessarily jump off the page amazing, but they're also not horrendously bad. I mean, he's in the top, it's 57% or something for defensive contributions, so for fullbacks, which is, it's okay. But I think Sunderland, the more I thought about it, when I was talking about Archie Brown a while ago, I was put off by his attacking numbers. But then when I thought about it more, I kind of came to the conclusion that why on earth would you want to buy a player that's basically just Ronaldo again? And you have different sorts of players there. So I think because we're going to be playing a lot more games next season, the ability to have a defensive fullback and then the ability to have a attacking fullback, I think actually makes a lot of sense. And I think we can kind of see that at right back, where we've got Mukiele and we've got Trey Humo, are both pretty different. We also had Hertrauda last season, obviously was different as well. So having different sort of profiles, I think, would make sense. So that's why I think Ouattara He's kind of in the middle there. He's probably better defensively than Archie Brown, but he's also better attackingly than Ronaldo. So he's somewhere in the middle of the two of them. And I think that this is, a potential goer for Sunderland. And when I saw that it was two teams in the top 10 of the Premier League, then I think that, to me, sort of makes sense. It can also play right back. It has played right back. So it's a bit more versatility there. And he can even play at wing back. So if we did play a back five, then Ouattara could fit in there lovely. So I think this is not a bad link for Sunderland. Not a bad link. Right, we'll move on to Archie Brown, because Archie Brown yesterday was also linked with Sunderland. I saw some posts from Fenerbahce pages in Turkey. Now, Turkish media is known for being pretty inaccurate with their transfer claims. But I think Archie Brown has been linked enough with Sunderland to say that we probably do have interest. Now, the good thing is he's homegrown, so that's a massive tick in the box. It would help us with that quota. But Archie Brown, in terms of the defensive side of the game, not necessarily the best, but in terms of going forward, he is a pretty exciting player. I think the fee roughly is going to be 20 million quid, something like that for him. So yeah, I think it was about 10 million that Fenerbahce paid last summer to bring him in. 3 goals, 2 assists, so 5 goal contributions last season. It's pretty good. And then again, you look at these numbers. Attacking numbers for a fullback are very good. Even his passing and possession numbers are very, very good as well. I mean, his possession numbers are really, really good for a fullback. But obviously the defensive side of the game, it's not quite as good. But possession won in the final third, showing that, he's willing to press pretty high up the field. So yeah, I think that Archie Brown, it could be a realistic one. I mean, I've seen there Connor Hutton, it's not what the club wanted last year with Masuaku, who had a lot better attacking stats than his defensive stats. And that is true. And Kev stays. I still don't think Archie Brown is defensively good enough for Regis. And again, that was my initial trepidation with it. But I do wonder if Archie Brown, I don't know, would it give us a little bit more sort of versatility in what we've got there? I mean, Masuaku, yes, he wasn't great, but I don't think Masuaku looked particularly good going forward last season in the few games that he played. So yeah, I think that one of these two could potentially be goers, Archie Brown or Ouattara. I think both of them could be interesting signings. Now, we had a comment asking, we've had a few people asking about Francelino Giu, who plays for FC Midtjylland, and I can't say I know a ton about him. I watched him a couple of times in the Europa League last season, I think, but I think he had a big injury. I don't know if I did. I mean, I can't remember, basically, fundamentally. it's a top bomb of it. But if you read on his data, his goal numbers are very, very good. I don't know where exactly he'll end up. Surprisingly, there isn't a ton of transfer links with him. So it's hard to exactly know what sort of transfer fee they're looking for. I mean, Midtjylland are pretty known for being a selling club. I think as well, Midtjylland have got links with Brentford. I'm sure the Brentford owner also owns them. So I would imagine that if there is a chance for him to move to the Premier League, that's probably where he goes. But yeah, his numbers are very, very good. And then there's a nice scouting report on 442, which basically goes through what he's good at. So he's quick. He's a high volume shooter, high goal scoring as well. He scores a ton of goals. Very good shielding the ball, similar to Brobby. And he's got really intelligent movement. That's what the 442 scout report says. But the thing that says it's not good at is that he's not good in terms of aerial battles, considering he's like huge. I think he's like 6'2" or 6'3". His link-up play is not good, and he is incredibly one-footed. So it need a lot of work, judging by that. But fundamentally, if we get linked with Francelino Giu properly, I will do a little bit more of a deep dive on him. But I know some of you guys have been very, very interested in him in recent weeks. Right, what else have we got in the comments here? Let's have a look. Morning, pal, from a building site in Benwell, listening to my earphones while working, putting a new roof on. Good to be here again. Excellent, Stephen. I am glad that you are listening to me while putting on a new roof. Hopefully the weather stays for you. It looks like it's going to rain. It certainly does where I am. Ban Dallard, call me impatient, but I'm itching for us to sign someone. Same, mate. I'd love to see a here we go with a Sunderland player coming. It's the excitement that kills you. It absolutely does. Thomas Mitchell, any updates on the new kits? Season kits, made a bet with a lad at work, Stoke fan. If Stoke was promoted, I'd buy him a Stoke shirt. If Sunderland got European football, he would get me a Sunderland shirt. Oh, well, happy days. Get yourself a free Sunderland shirt. I'm sure there's a June release, a July release, an August release, I think was the rough plan. I suspect that we'll see the Elvis away kit will be revealed before we go to America, would be the logical guess. So I'm guessing that'll be the July release, and I think that'll be the away kit. So the third shirt, I think, will come in August. So I think the home shirt should be coming in the next couple of weeks, I would guess. So hopefully, yeah, you'll get yourself a nice free shirt. Katie Boy, do you know if we have any representatives over at the World Cup? Sunderland will have scouts over there. I don't know. I mean, Gasolfi, I know, isn't there because he's doing media interviews this week, so that'll be happening throughout this week. So he's obviously not over there, but Sunderland will definitely have people over there watching it. And the thing is, as well, with the World Cup, every player that's at the World Cup, the football clubs will have watched anyway. They'll have an idea of who they are. So I don't know if you necessarily have to go there with a pad and a piece of paper and do some scouting. But yeah, I'd imagine we'll have some representation there. Where are we there? Jordan Boss, we'll put him on the list for tomorrow, my friend. We shall put him on there. Ban Dallard, I love playing forward, thinking wing backs with 3 at the back, dropping to a 5 without the ball. Yeah, we did that a little bit, to be fair, last season, didn't we? When we played, it was like Chelsea away. I think we played the back 3. And it was versatile, but that day we were kind of putting Hertrauda, weren't we? He was playing centre back. We were putting him in midfield all the time, so it was different. Normally it's the wing backs that push, but on that day we were putting Hertrauda in midfield to make a midfield 3 and then put him into the defence. Davey says the big disadvantage or blind spot that we have as fans, speculating based on data, can't measure personality or attitude, which we give a high priority to. And you're absolutely bang on there, Davey. Sunderland have done that over the years. That's why when we have been sort of linked with certain characters, you go, well, that doesn't feel likely. I've seen somebody put in about Basuma. I think Basuma had some sort of character blemish. I feel like at Tottenham, was that why he wasn't in the team? I don't think players like that will be signed for Sunderland. We don't rock the boat. Somebody was talking about Jadon Sancho to me the other day and saying, should Sunderland take the risk? And I was like, yeah, but he's proven, Jadon Sancho, that, you know, he's a bit of a loose cannon. So why would they take the risk on that? They've done a really good job of recruiting the right characters in the dressing room. So I don't see them breaking that to bring in a character. I mean, you look at players like Granit Xhaka and their character profiles. That's why they love Luke O'Nien, because of his character profile as well. So it is massive in terms of recruitment. So yeah, you are correct. Arsene Kouassi is another left back I wouldn't be surprised if the club we're looking at was a standout in the previous AFCON. Linked to Andre Luiz too, but I haven't seen that one yet. And Gomez from Porto looks good too. I don't know if they've been linked. Hutchinson, hi Connor. Thank you. Egg Mugridge. I was disgusted that we didn't have a 6-foot player with scarves held above their heads yesterday. Same mate. Fuming. It's like waiting for Christmas. It absolutely is. David Cotney Mac, I'm glad to lads getting minutes at the World Cup. However, I worry about injuries. I am the same whenever I watch, particularly Granit Xhaka is the one I worry about, because you just kind of hope that he just stays fit and just plays for Sunderland forever, don't you? But you're 100% right. Is there any youth academy players close that could break through for next season? Could help with homegrown quota. Me and James talked about this the other day, and I don't think there's imminently anyone that is likely to break through. The closest is Matty Young, the goalkeeper. There is a world, but I think Sunderland want to loan him out next season. Finn Geragusson, I think they really, really like, but it sounds like he's potentially going to leave. I think he's out of contract this summer, and he's potentially going to go. I think Rangers are the ones that are after him, because he'll get first-team football. So I don't think there's anyone that's on the cusp of breaking through. I think the exciting thing with Sunderland, though, is we do have a lot of good under 15, under 16 players. So the next 2 or 3 years, we should start seeing more academy players come through. But yeah, just feel like at the minute, I think because we've jumped into the Premier League, and when we're in the Championship League One, we were breaking players through. When you're in the Premier League, it's so much harder to do that. So the gap between the academy and the first team has grown exponentially over the last 18 months or so. Spoonie says, just getting rid of weeds in the garden. Still think we have lots of weeds that need out the club, even if we cancel and pay contracts. Yeah, we do. We've got a lot of we've got like probably 8 or 9 players that we probably need to get rid of. So yeah, we do have to get rid of them. That's going to be a big job for Gasolfi this summer. Get rid of players like Abdullah Bar and Timothy Pembele. Why is Trey Ogunsuyi's brother leaving the club? He's class. The thing is, you don't know what the internal politics of these situations are. I mean, he's a 14-year-old kid. So it's very, very difficult to know what's happening with them. And it happens all the time with academy players. When I worked at Sunderland years ago, there's players that leave, players that sign. It's just kind of the way that it goes. And sometimes it's just a case that they've been offered, you know, the chance to go somewhere that they prefer. So yeah, it's a shame because he did sound like he was a top level prospect in the academy. Right, let's talk about some other transfer news because I think it's interesting to see what else is happening in the Premier League, and there isn't a ton. I know people are getting a little bit worried about Sunderland's lack of business, but there isn't really that much happening in the Premier League in terms of transfers right now. But there are some pretty interesting stuff happening, and I've just realised I've made a massive typo and said Ousmane Dembele for Leeds, Ousmane Diamande. But anyway, Sandro Tonali, Newcastle midfielder, is being heavily linked with Spurs. Now, this is an interesting one. Now, objectively, let's take West Sunderland hats off for a minute. And Tonali has been at Newcastle for a few years now. They've played in the Champions League a couple of times. And I can understand his want to move. Look, I think that Sandro Tonali, when he's on his day, is a decent player. I think that last season he was not particularly good. But to move to Spurs, we just finished 17th in the Premier League. I don't know. That to me is a bit stinky. I think probably what Sandro Tonali is doing is trying to spur up some interest. I don't think he wants to stay at Newcastle. And I think this is a problem that Newcastle have. I think Lewis Hall, I think he possibly wants to look out to leave. I wouldn't be surprised if Bruno Guimaraes, who they view as untouchable, but if he's seen players leave, what's he going to think? So I think Newcastle got some serious problems right now. I saw that their head of recruitment left yesterday to go to West Ham. So I think Newcastle got some issues at the moment. And Tonali, if he is to go to Spurs, I don't think that's a great move. But I don't know what sort of fee they'd get. I think Newcastle paid 50 plus million for Tonali, so they're probably going to be looking at getting 80, 90 at a minimum, really. I don't know if he's worth that right now in this market because he had such a bad season. So, yeah, I think that Tonali is probably using Spurs to spur up interest. There we are. I'll use that pun again. The other one that I saw, well, there's a few actually, but the next one I want to talk about is Crysencio Somerville, who is Dutch international, was at West Ham last season, and he was really, really good for West Ham last season. Considering they got relegated, he was their star man. Now, he's a player that a lot of Sunderland fans have sort of said, right, we would love to go in for him. And I really like Somerville, but I think his performances have probably put him in that next category of player and team. Man United apparently want to pay 50 million for him this summer. That's roughly what the price is going to be. I don't think it's a bad move. The only concern I would have with Somerville is that he's only had one good season in the Premier League. Yeah. So you're taking a big risk there. He did score a very good goal for the Netherlands the other day. So, yeah. Somerville to Man United, I don't think it was a realistic signing for Sunderland anyway. He'll be on a canny wedge as well at West Ham. But, yeah, that's where it looks like he's going. And there's another West Ham player. And it's wild because West Ham got relegated from the Premier League. But Matthias Fernandes, who's another player that us Sunderland fans have sort of looked at and thought, would he be a good bit of business? And he would have been. But apparently it's Man United and Real Madrid. 80 million quid is what they're saying for him. So you've got a crazy thing with West Ham. They've got Matthias Fernandes, who they're reckoning is an 80 million quid player. I don't disagree with that. I think he's a great player. Got Somerville, 50 million. You've also got like Jared Bowen, who's like, you know, one of the best English forwards. So they had so many good players last season. How did they get relegated? But Matthias Fernandes, they're saying Real Madrid, and that wouldn't surprise me. I think he's a very, very good player. Though they have just signed Bernardo Silva, so I don't know necessarily where he would fit in to that team. But yeah, 80 million quid. So there we go. When we were thinking that maybe we could sign him, I don't think that it was ever particularly likely. And the next one we'll talk about is Leeds. Leeds want Ousmane Diamande, who is a centre-back, plays for Sporting, I think it is. It's meant to be about 40 million quid. He's a good, decent young player. He's somebody that I've tracked for a few years just because I've seen him on Football Manager before. So, yeah, 40 million quid, that's a lot of money for Leeds to be spending on a defender, especially they've got about 100 million quid to spend this summer, so they're basically blowing nearly half the budget on one player. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. And then we've got some goalkeeper musical chairs happening in the Premier League as well. So, Ipswich and Hull both want Nick Pope. And Nick Pope, obviously, has been a decent goalkeeper for Newcastle over the last few years. I think he had a really bad season last season. He had a few injuries. But they've renewed his contract for another year, but I think they're just going to end up selling him. They reckon it'll be about 5 million quid for Nick Pope. So he's going to end up leaving this summer. Ipswich or Hull probably does make sense because they both... Well, I don't think Hull necessarily need a starting keeper, but Ipswich definitely do. So you go in there and he'd be a steadier hand than what they had last time in the Premier League. But James Trafford is the interesting one because he's been linked very heavily with Leeds and Newcastle, and that's going to be 40 plus million quid to get James Trafford through the door. So again, if Leeds are buying in Ousmane Diomande and James Trafford, they're going to be spending pretty much all of their budget on two players, which I think is interesting. But I imagine if Trafford goes to Newcastle, then we'll see Nick Pope out the door there. Right, let's have a look at some of your comments before we sign off. Zan Vipotnik, the Swansea striker. I think he was top scorer in the Championship last season. And objectively, a very decent player. However, I just have a thing in my head about strikers in the Championship that do well. It's the same reason with James Stansfield. I worry about how well it converts to the Premier League. Now, Vipotnik, whenever I watch him, he just sniff out goals. He stinks of goals, doesn't he, in terms of just fishing them out. He scores different types of goals as well. And I do like him. But I think it would be a big risk. I don't know what you'd have to pay. He just signed a new contract at Swansea a few weeks ago. Towards the back end of the season. So you're going to be talking a decent wedge for him, probably 20 plus million quid. And he's not going to be a starter ahead of Brian Brobby. That's the difficulty with our striker position, is that whoever you bring in is going to be the backup, is going to be the number 2 player. So Sam Vipotnik, I don't hate it, but yeah, I don't think that he's going to be a Sunderland player. What else have we got now? I reckon under De Zerbi, Spurs could be a team to watch. I think they'll probably finish mid-table next season. Don't think they'll suddenly jump up and be a top-end team. They finished 17th in the Premier League 2 seasons in a row. They're not suddenly going to be very, very good. But yeah, I think they'll be better next season. I think they'll probably finish 11th, 12th, something like that. But I don't think they'll be much better than that. I wonder with Chelsea saying Cucurella, will they go back and get Lewis Hall? Potentially. Yeah, I thought it was weird that they sold Cucurella. I thought he was one of the few Chelsea players that were decent. So yeah, maybe they would go back in for Lewis Hall. And that would be another interesting one. I feel like Lewis Hall wants to go because there's plenty of speculation about his future. And I imagine he's pretty annoyed that he's not at the World Cup. Newcastle trying to get Mane from Wolves too. A lot of money to pay for a young player. But he's a decent player. What else have we got? Sun Stew. On Archie Brown, if he can't defend well, then I doubt that Bruce will want him. As being a competent defender is so important to his style of play. Masuaku had good attacking numbers, but not defensively. And yeah, I'd probably agree with you. That was basically where my head was at when we were first linked with Archie Brown the other week. Ed Mugridge. I've never known the amount of new managers in the league at the start of the season. I think there was approx 10 if you include Carrick and the Spurs manager. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? I think is there not 9 new hires going into the new season? It's pretty crazy. Or 9 new managers because of new promote teams. It's pretty nuts, isn't it? The rate of change. Considering the Premier League was pretty stable. But I think Sunderland and Leeds staying up last season really kind of ripped up the apple cart in terms of managers being moved on. So yeah, that is an interesting one. Imagine Promise David up top together with Brobby. We're not playing 2 up top though, are we? Stansfield, not for me, overpriced, and lots of his goals were pens. No place for our team. I would probably agree with you there, mate. Davey says, much as I love Brobby, we must have a striker who can genuinely replace Brobby if needed and to push him in training. Expensive to do and harder to persuade that striker to come. And that's the issue with it. I like the current strike force that we've got, the options. I like Isidore. I like Brobby and I like Mayenda. If you added in another one, you'd have to sell one of Mayenda or Isidore. But I think both of them are going to be pretty decent for us next season. I think Mayenda will get much more minutes now we're in Europe. But yeah, I mean, if you were to bring somebody in, it has to be somebody who's roughly at the level of Brobby. I think there's a clear hierarchy that Brobby, you know, you've got Brobby up here, Isidore just below, and then Mayanda just below him. But I feel like you need to get somebody that's on the level of Brobby. I would agree with that. Or younger striker who is happy to push and push and push and then maybe overtake Brobby in a couple of years. But yeah, I think that just about sums it up for the day. So tomorrow, we're not here at 10:30. I think it'll be about 1:30 tomorrow, but I'll put a post up so that you guys all know to check that out. But me and James are going to do a live stream tomorrow. And then Thursday, Friday, we'll be back as normal. Friday, we've got the fixture release. So we're going to come on at 9:45 on Friday morning. That is with Taff. So me and Taff will do the full fixture. So join us for that. We'll talk about the exciting roadmap that Sunderland will have for the new season. And we've also got videos going up on both channels. Me and Taff did some transfer stuff yesterday. That'll be going on his channel. We also played that 38-0 game. There'll be a video going out on that. There's one on Taff's channel. There'll also be one that'll go on my Patreon. And then we did a Sunderland team of the century. So yeah, check that out as well when that comes out. That'll be out over the weekend. So thanks everyone for watching this video and enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully we'll get a here we go from Fabrizio and we'll have something else to talk about. But yeah, we'll catch you again for another one.